It's been kind of sad. Got all mentions.
You need so?
Who's gonna have you man the cams?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's super fun. Yeah. Sure. It's steep, like.
It has so much like stuff that we bought, you know, like drinks.
Like it's not.
The camera, we don't have it out, so it doesn't follow the voice.
Depending on the level, because there are some that they got big. Big, yeah, like,
Yeah,
they don't really have any. Right, it's like that, gotcha.
Wear any of it. That's what I wanted to say.
You always.
I really throw that in space. I do usually anyway. You gotta have a face.
Something like that. Yeah, there's the front, there's the burn part of this maybe.
Yeah, it'll probably be some.
It's like still.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
It's got fine. It's real short. Right back. And then you got one that's more advanced with weird jumps and just got one that's bigger that has like step up jumps.
Or two.
Great. Intentions to get good.
Right, that's, yeah, so if they don't address that.
They haven't done this during some years, so.
Just about. The burn part, that's why. When you drop with your hand. Yeah. You kind of come up out of that. Because it's hot.
And it's really.
I expected 36. Probably on like.
I know.
Okay.
Do this.
Okay.
That works. You think so? You just gotta solve it.
Yeah, it's.
Cause I speak.
There's tons of people. It's yeah. Okay, it's gonna rain a bunch of them. Yeah, so that rain we had earlier.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I do have a little bit of a voice issue, so if I don't sound like myself, that's why. I just want everybody to know that we are recording this. So if you do have confidential questions, you may want to hold them off until the debt tells you, and you can answer them. We're not recording it.
You can follow up with us.
So I'm just gonna do a quick introduction to myself. My husband is over there, Corey, and I moved here in 2016, and we bought the building that we are in, Boston Falls Brewing, opened up in 2017. I am the president of the Main Street Sylva Association, and
How about your name?
oh, my name is Lori. Yeah. Vern seems to think that I'll be really good at this. I'm not so sure, but we're gonna do the best I can. I'm on the promotions committee. I'm the chair of the promotions committee. I am an ambassador of the Chamber of Commerce, and I am on the public arts committee. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, so
You can introduce Jen.
Jay Spiro is next. He's with Berkshire Hathaway Great Smokies Realty. He's the VP and incoming president of Main Street Sylva Association. And he's also on the design committee. And I think he's with the Rotary also.
Busy man.
So how many of y'all are here actually looking for specifically interested in doing a grant or something to a building or something affirmative like that? Just curious how many you're just in here for information purposes. So I'm Jay Spiro. I'm the incoming president of the Main Street Sylva Association. Just to give you a little bit of background, there's a national organization of main streets all over America that was formed decades ago now, that whose sole purpose basically was historic preservation and to revitalize downtown areas, towns and cities, mainly small, medium to small sized towns and villages in America. And each state has an individual Main Street Association that's connected to the national organization and then feeds down to the individual towns in North Carolina, in our case. It's under the auspices of the Department of Commerce in North Carolina, and it's the Main Street Center. If you ever want to go online and learn more about the Main Street program and the process, you can look under the Department of Commerce and the Main Street Center in North Carolina. How many Main Street towns are there in North Carolina? 80. Okay. And Sylva has been a Main Street town since the 1990s. I was actually part of the original founding board of directors at that time called Sylva Partners in Renewal. Some of you, if you've been here long enough, would recognize that name. And we did the original streetscape, which involved all the bump outs on Main Street, the landscaping, putting all the wires underground. If you've been here for a while, so we used to have, all the wires and the traffic signals were all coming from wires, and the water and sewer was redone. So there was a lot of improvements to Main Street at that time, physical improvements. I think it was $1.5 million or something, which back then was probably the money. And then that board rolled on for a while. We had a full-time director. We discovered early on that it was very difficult to manage and enhance and do all the things that need to be done for downtown with just volunteers, because we're all busy in our own businesses and so on. We just didn't have, volunteers just don't have the time to devote. So hiring a Main Street director was really important, which we now have in Bernadette. That organization kind of faded a little bit and then was revitalized in the form of the Main Street Sylva Association. And it was kind of brought more in-house for Sylva. You might have any questions about the Main Street organization, just real quick. I just want to give you all a brief overview. It's a very, very involved organization. We do, to maintain our Main Street status, we have to sort of be accredited periodically, and there's a whole process that we go through, including this, which I'd be happy to let you all take a look at so later or whatever. This is our 5-year plan that we have. It's actually a strategic plan that we develop periodically to do the things that we do downtown. So there's 4 points to the Main Street program: organization, promotion, design, and economic vitality. The main things that are involved with what you're interested in is design and economic vitality. Part of our strategic plan was basically involved what we used to call phase 2 of the streetscape process, which is Mill Street. We didn't get to that in the original iteration of this organization, so we're trying to do some things to enhance. Obviously, there's a challenge with Mill Street because it's the back of the buildings, and used to be Main Street and Mill Street used to be 2-way. Now one is one way and one is the other way. So you get backs of buildings which sort of back up to the railroad tracks and the creek, and so it's been a challenge to look for ways to enhance those buildings in a way that will kind of serve the downtown. Everything's interconnected in what we do. It's kind of a neat process that we look at. Historic preservation is sort of the basis of the Main Street program. So we're always kind of focused on trying not to, if you've ever been to Helen, Georgia, there's a kind of an example of what a lot of us think you shouldn't do, which is a theme or some kind of, quirky thing to try to attract people, as opposed to sort of taking the buildings that you have that are, a lot of these buildings were built back in the early 1900s even, and enhancing them, bringing them out, bringing their former beauty back and preserving our history, but doing it in a way that's, brings it up to date. So reading this off of our development strategies that we produced. Yeah, okay. So assisting property owners in finding tenants and assisting property owners in developing concepts for renovation and revitalization of their buildings, renderings, which we're working right now with University of North Carolina, Greensboro. They have graduate students that are in a program there that are helping do sort of a CAD program and a visualization of what the back of your building could look like or the front of your building could look like. We developed a facade grant program, which is a big basis for a while y'all are here. To try to sort of incentivize property owners and business owners to enhance their buildings in a positive way. And it all kind of goes together with economic development, because obviously the nicer your building is, the nicer the facade is, the more attractive it is for customers to come into the businesses that are there. So if the business, let's say you're a property owner, but you're not running the business, then you're renting out to a tenant that runs a business. The business does better because it's getting more foot traffic, because the building's more attractive, and the combined effort of everybody's making downtown more attractive. So they come, more and more customers come to the downtown. It's almost like sort of look at it as an outdoor mall advantage. And so the businesses are making more money because they're getting more customers. The property owner can usually charge more rent over the years because, the business owner is making more money and he's happy and he's able to pay more rent. And the customers are happy because they're getting a nice shopping experience or festivals or things to do downtown. And then of course, the town and the county are happy because they're getting more in property taxes. So it's a kind of a win-win-win situation. Anything else you want to hit on this right now? Okay, who got this?
Thank you, Jay. All right, next up is Bernadette Peters, our Economic Development Director for the town of Sylva at large, and the Main Street Sylva Association Director. He's got a lot more than what's on here, but. Yeah. Oh, here, I can even.
So this part, I know that's one of the burning questions everybody has is where are we with all these town projects that we're doing? So I figured I'd give you a little update on what's going on there. Public restrooms. I don't know if you guys heard, but we hit a snag with the foundation part of it. And so that is off schedule. But from what I understand, Odell, it's back on now.
They're digging right now.
They're digging right now. So
Yeah.
do you know what the ETA is on?
Completion, probably sometime late June.
Late June. So yeah, not bad. We won't have it before Granny Up the Mountains, but we will have it and it won't sink. So that's really good. The bridge park improvements, they are on schedule. So you should see everything pretty well completed by the end of this month, which is nice. I'm sure you guys have seen the progress, the paving and all that. And I think in the end, we might still have to do some of the landscaping. We're having trouble getting some of the native trees and plants that we want to put in there. But other than that, everything else will be done. The new street lights that we'll have on both Mill and Main, they've been ordered. We don't have an answer from Duke yet on when they'll get here, but they will be black. So we're going to be repainting the mast arms with all of the traffic lights on there, but they'll be doing it at night. And they will be working on it so that the overspray won't get on cars and things like that. So it'll be professionally done. The next phase after that will be to work on some of the other things that are still green, like trash receptacles, the metal ones, and the planters and things like that. But everything will start to look like that black glossy look. Sylva Supply mural. We're so excited that we're going to be able to restore that on Tammy's building there on Spring Street. And we got the final estimate today. We have all of the funding to do it. So that should be done by maybe the end of June. And we're super excited about it. So the next phase, we'll be looking at how to enhance that little section of Spring Street that's cornered off. Blitz has been working with us to kind of look at things downtown and see how we can improve things as well. So very cool. And then we have a pretty extensive repair improvement and punch list. The town manager, Public Works, Jay and myself and the mayor did a walkabout. We were out for about 2.5 hours, kind of recording everything that we need to improve on and fix. And then we're going to be looking at priorities for those. And some of them are going to require, some extensive funding. So working on fundraising. So we'll be unveiling that as we go further. And then we have a newly formed design committee. We have a couple of them here who are going to be speaking. Jay's on that committee, Odell, Amber, myself. Did I miss anybody? But these are the folks that are working on this particular aspect of Main Street. And since we've been doing this, we haven't had a specific design committee because we haven't had faces with the other committees. So we're very, very excited about that. Any questions about the new projects? Okay.
Did you mention Bridgeport too?
Yeah.
Two
Bridgeport 2.
addition.
Yeah, addition. So just a couple of things I want to point out, and a lot of this information you can get up here afterward, or you can ask us for more details on it. But as Jay mentioned, UNCG will do facade renderings. They have a simple application. A lot of you have already received the rear facade renderings that they've done for Mill Street, which they kind of did in bulk for us. But if you want to do the front of your building, even if you're just a business owner, that's fine too. They will do these renderings and provide some really cool historical information about your building and how it's evolved over the years. It's a really neat packet. Here's the extent of it. And then they give you like all sorts of different, existing facade and then options for restoring architectural features and different colors and stuff like that. Really, really cool. So, and that's all completely free. That's part of being a part of the Main Street Association. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me and I'll get you hooked up. And then Odell and I have started a conversation about a technical assistance grant program that would allow building owners and or businesses to activate inactive spaces. So it would look at providing assistance to get architectural drawings, code compliance information, some estimates on what it would cost to build it out and that sort of thing. So we are trying to put together all of the pieces that would do that. We've been working with NC Growth on another project and they do a lot of pro formas so they can pull in those numbers and kind of show what you can cash flow out of it. And Mountain BizWorks has done a program like this. We've had two building owners here. Jamie was one of them that was able to benefit from that. And it was very eye-opening. You were able to make some decisions from it and
Yeah,
and
I wanted to move forward in the way that they suggested. But due to coding and stuff like that, you've got to, I've got to wait on a certain for the license to go up or whatever. But yeah, very eye-opening, very, just kind of get your mind, to start thinking, okay, it's great information. They did a great job.
And most of the time you'd have to hire somebody to do that for you. So we want to set up this program that will give you a leg up for that. So keep an ear out for that. And then tax credit programs, and Amber will be talking a little bit more about that. But since we're in a national historic district, building owners can apply for historic tax credits, which is basically free money to cover 40% of the costs, which is amazing because we're in a tier 2 county, so we get that little extra bonus that other towns don't get. It's a really nice thing. You can also opt to be a part of the local historic registry and get an additional 5%, I think. So that's an option individually, building by building. And then there are also new market tax credit programs out there that can cover another 30% of that. Those are a little bit harder to get and take a little bit longer, and I'm still learning about it, but I'm happy to any of these programs kind of hold your hand through it. been working with one building owner here in town to kind of help them through that process and guide them to the right resources. So, and I did find out at the last Main Street conference from one of the historic tax credit guys, he's like, we don't deny anyone. He said that to me and I was like, really? Because I didn't know that. So that's very exciting if it's a registered building. So, all right, then you want to come up and introduce Amber? Any questions about any of that? Super thought at this point.
Okay, next up is Amber Albert, Director of Mountain Heritage Center at Western Carolina University, and she's also in design.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I will try not to be redundant between Jay and Bernadette's comments. So in brief, I was asked to tell you a little bit about my background, preservation, and some more specifics about the tax credit opportunities available to you. So first, Amber Albert, my academic and professional experience in historic preservation took me, I grew up in Boone, to Charleston, South Carolina, where historic preservation in America was born, none of you talked to. And then moved to Tennessee, where my appreciation for rural 19th century, early 20th century streetscapes and agricultural outbuildings really took hold. And so now I occasionally teach in public history and run the teaching museum at Western Carolina University with a focus on Southwestern Appalachia. Historic preservation is important because not everyone leaves a written history, right? And so the Mountain Heritage Center, we preserve the objects that people make, that they use, that they leave behind, but we also read the buildings and the architectural details to learn more about the people that built them, used them, and lived here. And then using that to sort of fuel the economy here in recent decades through the Main Street program has made a big difference. In my professional career in Newton, North Carolina, I was on the Downtown Newton Development Association committee and have worked with various Main Street programs. So I can talk to you a little bit about the economic impacts of historic preservation, which include over 14,000 jobs in America, totaling about $438 million in compensation. But really, the number I want you to remember is 1.4 billion in revenues. The tax credit program specifically, you can learn more about at leverageinc.org. But if you register property, and again, sorry, I don't want to be too redundant, but maybe you'll remember it this way, right? With our students, we just repeat. If you have a structure on the register and you're looking to rehabilitate it for income, for revenue generating purposes, then you can get a federal income tax credit of up to 20%. On top of that, you can get a state income tax credit base 15% all the way up to 20%. And then finally, what Bernadette mentioned, the additional 5% because we're a tier 2 county. So for instance, if I had $1 million to invest in a historic shop here, I could, at the lowest rate of combined tax credits, get almost $400,000 back. Now, I will counter Bernadette's comment, the person you spoke to that said, we don't turn down anyone for historic tax credits. I wouldn't say that's accurate. I would say if you submit something and they don't agree, they'll work with you to get it where it needs to be. So it's not a flat no, but it is, well, let's help you make this stronger. And that's part of what I hope the design committee and Main Street can help you with specifically.
It has to be registered. Must be registered. I'm guessing mine's not.
So no, it's, well, you have to be a contributing building, right?
Little plug for the Mountain Heritage Center. We have students that can, if your building qualifies, work toward getting you on the National Register. You just may not be part of the historic district. So there are some nuances there that can help.
I don't think it's hopeless.
You think it's hopeless?
Well, if I had a giant, big gray building right here, that's not historic.
Oh.
It's historical to us, but it
Is it over 50 years old?
was built in it started in the 50s.
You might be surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
They want to preserve their secret sauce.
And you may be in the district now.
I
I
think
think you are.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you're non-contributing in the district, then that's. But we could also offer a historic structure report where the students come in, measure, document, make recommendations, and sort of help explain different features that could be significant. And then you could do whatever with that. Yes.
If your building is registered as historic, is there limitations or restrictions to how much renovations you can do internally there?
Good question. It
Yeah, the
depends on the
department,
municipality.
and the Department of Interior standards. So your project has to meet their standards
If you want the funding.
if you.
If you don't want the funding, you can do what you want,
Right.
Yeah.
but my guess is. So we can talk you through that.
Okay.
Basically, they want you to respect the historic facade.
Side, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And there is a representative in Asheville who comes here and will meet with property owners, walk through their building and help them like kind of understand the process.
Got it.
So it does get a bad rap because some communities like Charleston, South Carolina, have such strict requirements that you can't choose a paint color without committee approval, but that's not what we're talking about. So again, Amber Albert, nice to see some familiar faces, and thank you for letting me volunteer and be part of this, but I and Western are a resource to you.
All right, next up is Marnie Harris. She's the director of the Small Business Center at Southwestern College. She's also a Main Street board member and an ambassador for the Chamber. President this year.
Thank you, Lord. So yeah, as the director of the Small Business Center, our mission is to help business owners plan, start, grow their businesses. So first, curious, how many people in here have heard of the Small Business Center before? Okay, no more than half. That's good. So number one, we offer top-notch, accessible and relevant small business trainings. These are offered weekly, all year long, as a mixture of both webinars and in-person classes. So we average about 100 seminars a year to include, but not limited to, how to write a business plan, determining your legal structure, small business taxes, marketing, social media, how to price your product or service, how to get a loan, how to start an agribusiness, how to start a nonprofit, grant writing, QuickBooks, Google for your business, customer service, and just many, many more. Two, we offer one-on-one, confidential and customized counseling tailored for your specific small business needs. So you set the pace of those counseling sessions, and those can be done in person. They can be done via phone, and they can be done over Zoom. So whatever really works best for you and your busy schedules. So we work with folks that sometimes they just come in with an idea for a business. So we help them flesh out that idea. We kind of act as their sounding board. Is there a market for it? Will they be able to make a profit? We help them create that business plan to determine the feasibility of their idea and also to prep them for a loan. We also work with well-established business owners that maybe they need assistance in recruiting or retaining staff, or maybe they want to add a new product or service. Maybe they've decided they want to scale up and expand and they need a loan. So we'll work with them on that, and pretty much everything in between, we can work with people on. And so the third core service that we have is we are a resource center, and we connect businesses directly to local subject matter experts in your industry. So, and that includes, organizations needed to register your business, get licenses and permits, CPAs, attorneys, insurance, marketing, website referrals, lending options. We know that it can be very challenging for small businesses to access and secure funding. Taking a look at traditional bank loans, government-backed funding options, or alternative sources of funding such as CDFIs. And so we can connect you with the right lending institution for your business and your financial situation. So building impactful and collaborative relationships is a huge part of what we do. Some of our partners and additional resources for you include the SBTDCs. That's our sister organization, essentially. It stands for Small Business Technology and Development Centers. Those are at the university level. And the WCU College of Business. Bernadette here as the economic developer of Main Street. Tiffany Henry as the Jackson County economic developer. The Chambers of Commerce. I have 6 chambers in my service area. Cooperative extensions, the Southwestern Commission, Workforce Development Board, the NC Works Career Centers, Small Business Administration, North Carolina Department of Revenue, TenBiz, Mountain Biz Works, the Rural Center, Sequoia Fund, and the list goes on and on. So we're really a vital resource to economic growth and creating jobs to not only Jackson County, but we also serve Macon County, Swain County, and the Qualla boundary. And the best part of our services, they're all offered at no cost to the business owner. You're already paying for the service with your taxpayer dollars. So it's really a no-brainer to take advantage of these invaluable services. So shifting over to the property owners, the Small Business Center can be an invaluable partner in helping you maximize the value and profitability of your real estate assets. So knowing what we do helps business owners. So how many of you as a property owner want the assurance that the businesses renting your space are going to be able to pay their rent each month? How many of you request a business plan from your potential tenants? So that's where we can come in. We can help them create that business plan to provide financial viability, to give you the confidence in the tenant's ability to meet their financial obligations. So by communicating and working closely with us, you can tap into potential tenants who are motivated and well-equipped, ready to move and be successful. So we can be that matchmaker for property owners looking for suitable tenants and business owners looking for a suitable space. So this saves you guys time and effort, and helps, less time on marketing or vetting potential tenants. So a property owner can make a direct referral to the Small Business Center so that we can ensure that a potential tenant for your space has the tools and finances needed to be able to thrive in your space. So for a lot of us, it's more than just providing a space for commerce. It's driving that economic growth and creating jobs for a full and vibrant downtown, and that's what we're all here for. So now that you've all heard of the Small Business Center, that's all I have for now. Do you guys have any questions? Thank you. Yes.
I have one. Do you guys do succession planning for businesses?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I know some of our business owners are getting a little old.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a great, and a hot topic right now, for sure. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Next up is Michael Lane, Director of Lending at Mountain BizWorks, one of our key funding partners. You may have already met his colleague, Christine Locker, Southwestern Regional Manager, who could not be here today. Christine is on the Main Street Civil Association Economic Veteran.
And Michael, feel free to tell them a little bit more about yourself.
For sure, for sure. Good afternoon, folks. It's nice to be with you all today. Thank you for that introduction. So yeah, I feel honored to be here to talk about this. There's a lot of echoing sentiment here about preservation, historical preservation, the stewardship of a lot of the real estate here that makes up Main Street and Mill Street, Sylva. And I've been lucky to work with a lot of business owners here and getting their startup businesses off the ground, moved into their commercial real estate here, and even purchasing some of their buildings. And so this really kind of hits home for me. It's a big part of our mission at Mountain BizWorks. Talking a little bit about that myself here. I currently serve as the Director of Lending at Mountain BizWorks. And for 35 years, that's the organization's age, not my time at Mountain BizWorks. But for 35 years, we've been supporting the 26 counties of Western North Carolina by really focusing on building a vibrant and inclusive and locally owned small business economy here, because we understand that when small businesses thrive, we all begin to prosper. I'm lucky to work with some really driven and peers of mine who have high conviction for this mission. I'm not going to be as vivacious as Christine may normally be, and for those of you who know her, you know her personality, but I'll do my best. But translating that mission here of building a vibrant, inclusive, locally owned economy here really looks like providing access to capital, right? Providing access to capital for your small business to start, grow, and thrive, right? And for whatever reason it may be, your business might not be eligible to capture said financing from a traditional source like a bank. This is where a community development financial institution can really step in and be that rung on a ladder, if you will, right, to acquire said capital. I'm excited here tonight for another reason, and that's to talk about a new program that we've just rolled out in conjunction with a lot of the grant support here from your Main Street Director, and that's our Downtown Facade Improvement Loan Program. The purpose of this is really to, again, provide that low barrier access to capital to serve the historic meaning of the buildings here. Could be that, when you're looking at the grant matching program here, that's, and I'm not quite sure what the value, what the cap on the match might be, but let's just use some simple numbers. Could be that, you have to raise $5,000 to be matched with $5,000 in grant awards here, 10,000 pot. Maybe that's not enough to really get the job done here to improve or update or revitalize the facade of your building. This is where this loan program and our traditional microloan programs could really be supportive here by opening up to 20,000 or more. If it goes beyond, we can explore those options. But this program specifically is to provide expedited underwriting, fast access to eligible borrowers here, and stack that capital, right? You've just gotten the grant award, leverage it to get more, to get that project completed and really finish it and see it through. There's going to be some vetting on the grant thing. The design team is, it's great to hear that you have a whole committee and all these resources lined up here to kind of get the right update put in place, right? This is a simple tool to stack on top of any capital that can go towards the projects and see the job through. In general, a lot of our loans really kind of service that whole kind of, get started or hit your growth goals, or even, I'm glad that you brought up succession planning, because as you may have people who are looking to sell, they want to sell their commercial real estate and they want to sell the business that's in there too. And these are all areas of financing that we can explore through Mountain BizWorks. We're affiliated through the SBA, so that means our small business center partners here are really crucial to us. And it's a beautiful ecosystem that really is here to support all the small business owners and property owners here that may be in attendance tonight and beyond. So that's kind of the gist of what we do at Mountain BizWorks. Are there any kind of questions about nature of a CDFI or this loan program here, terms, how it stacks, anything that we can kind of address here tonight?
Do you have a cap on how much you're able to lend?
For sure. So through this one program here, again, because it's going to be expedited underwriting, we're going to cap it at 20,000. But that's not to say that your program wouldn't be eligible for additional micro lending. Right? Let's say it is a $50,000 renovation project to get the facade approved. We can take a look at that. Our general lending profile is anywhere from 1,000 up to $500,000. Just depends on the scope of the project, right? Particularly if it's a commercial real estate purchase, we'll look at $500,000 cash going in and partner up with some other sources of capital and get the job done. We use the 7A Community Advantage Program a lot of the times. So that's, guaranteed money that the SBA, Small Business Administration, has set aside to help secure financing for lenders when there may be a collateral shortfall, right? So tenants in some of these businesses, right? If you're looking to really kind of improve the leasehold, maybe make that expansion into a new location, right? There's programs built and tailored really to have that flexible financing for your small business. Hope that answered your question. Right. You mentioned technical assistance. That's a big component of what we do at Mount Bismarck too. We partner with the small business centers a bunch here in our 26 county footprint to kind of make sure that you're wrapped around with the proper services that you need to be able to kind of get your business growing and off the ground and really build for success. So coaching, classes, curriculum, it's never just a cut a check and run. We want to be there along the way, see you through. So again, honored to be here with y'all tonight and happy to answer any questions that y'all may have about this one program. Anything else we want to cover?
Why don't you mention where your office is?
Sure thing. Our headquarters are in Asheville. We have a satellite office in Boone, and really hoping to kind of get a southwestern footprint here as well. And if any of y'all have some office space for lease, I'd love to talk to you afterwards here too. But yeah, based out of Asheville. Again, real pleasure to be with you.
And Michael has some materials over here about that loan program. And if you want to do something even beyond the facade, you have dreams of doing things internally, you can package all of that together in a loan program and still have the facade part covered through the grant program. So
for sure,
just be thinking about that.
Yeah, there's lots of flexibility here when we're looking at CDFI finances, right? The whole purpose is to kind of de-risk a lot of projects and industries, right? Someone had to be the first brewery here in Western North Carolina, and a bank wasn't going to do it. So a CDFI was really the instrument to step in and get that industry de-risked, if you will, right? So more access to capital can open up down the road. So I think this is a beautiful program. Happy to be a part of it. So thank y'all.
Michael?
I think that was the first time for Christine. That's
All right, so we're so fortunate that we were able to get a grant of $10,000 from the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina and $20,000 provided by the Jackson County Tourism and Development Authority to start this downtown facade grant program. As Jay had mentioned to me, this is the beginning of something that's going to continue. So even when we exhaust the funds, we have the program in place and we'll go after more funds. So if you happen not to get it this go around, we have plans to continue to fund this. And hopefully as it takes ground and shows success, we'll get even more in there. A lot of these traditional grant funders are looking for us to spend this money within a year and they don't want to get it back because then you don't have the opportunity to get a grant again. So that's why we went conservative. Our goal was 30,000 and we were able to get that. And so the way this will work, it will match dollar for dollar with this fund with a maximum of $3,000 per application, right? So if the cost is $4,000 for your facade, you put in $2,000, we match $2,000. If it's $6,000, you put in $3,000, we do $3,000. If it's $10,000, we do $3,000, you do $7,000. Does that make sense? All right. So did everyone receive the facade grant information and letter of interest that I sent out via email? Great, thank you. So after this meeting, we'll be emailing applications to everyone who sent in a letter of interest. If you haven't sent one in, just go ahead and send it and then we'll route you the application because it's multiple pages. I don't want to go crazy with the printer. But just to kind of go over some of the things, a facade is, not a lot of people understand what that is. So I just want to go over that real quick. It's defined as one side of a building that's accessible from the exterior or visible from a public street. So that's why we did some rear facade programs with UNCG. And then examples of these improvements could be removing false fronts and metal canopies, safe cleaning of brick and stone fronts, so the cleaning, canvas awning installation and replacement, window and door repairs, repainting, structural repair, historic reconstruction. So if you have part of a cornice or some sort of architectural feature that you would like to restore on over all of your windows, that's an option. Lighting repairs and repairing or replacing cornices, as I mentioned. So any ideas you have, you can put on that letter of interest. If anything is something that like we know wouldn't qualify as a facade, we'll tell you before you even start the application. You can do the things on the application that you really qualify for. You can either apply as a property owner or as a business tenant for this program. You just need to, if you're a business tenant and you don't own the building, you'll need to get that property owner to be a co-applicant with you. So it works pretty well. And this is, we modeled this after other organizations that have done this. I think Sylva had one back in
The 90s.
the 90s. Yeah. So facade grants, I mentioned ceiling mounts. The way the process for approval will go is the design committee, because we have an architect, we have a builder, we have Amber, we have Jay, who's in real estate, we have Anna Harkins, who's in historic preservation and a county planner. We have a very, very robust team on this design committee. I don't know how we got these amazing people on this, but I'm so glad we did. It's because I asked real nice. But what they'll do is they'll go through that process, make sure everything's in order, that you've met all the requirements of the application, and then make a recommendation on who's going to receive the grant. It will go then to the Main Street Board, where they will need to put their stamp of approval on it, and the town commissioners. And then once you're approved, your application will be approved before you start to work on the building. Once you finish your work on the building, then you'll provide your receipts to us and we will give you that money directly. So it's a pretty simple process. You have up to 3 months to start the project, and a project should be completed in an additional 3 months from the time the application is approved. We felt like that would help. That would be a fair time frame, because I know like some of the contractors are a little slow. But it's hard to get them. They're having staff shortages. You've got to get their estimates and that sort of thing. So we might need.
I'm confused by that. After approval, there's 3 months. And 3 months from the time the application is approved. So is that 6 months?
Yeah, it's 6 months total.
Okay.
But we're trying to keep a window in there. You have 3 months to start the project once it's approved. So you might be getting together financing. We wanted to give you breathing room for that as well. And then making sure that they're completed within the next 3 months after you start.
And you all find the contractor, or the business owner finds the contractor?
You find the contractor, although we can provide you with some resources, like Jay has been working with Husky Painting, and mentioned to them that we're doing this program, and they said they would love to be considered by other merchants as well, and might consider offering a group discount. So, and we have several that our merchants and property owners have worked with in the past that we can recommend.
Regarding timing of the renovations, or if those renovations started already or are in process, can you still apply for those renovations to be reimbursed for work that's already being undergone?
No, we can't. Just because it's that could be a whole lot of people that have already been in process.
Mm.
But if you don't, if there are parts of it that haven't been started yet, and that's a separate contract, then we can look at those aspects of your project.
Okay, thank you.
So,
General license contractors only.
yes. Yeah, you can't do it yourself.
I'm really expensive.
Huh?
I'm really expensive.
Yeah.
So, just to be clear, you have to coordinate as a property owner with a licensed general contractor. And when the approval comes through,
Well, not a licensed general contractor, but a licensed contractor.
well, I have to coordinate with the contractor. And I'm dependent upon a date when the approval comes through. And so on that date, I need to have a contractor lined up going, hey, we have 3 months to do this. Right, that's
Right, and this is just for the facade portion. Okay, if you wanted to do a larger project that had internal renovations as well, I mean, that's something that could be packaged into the loan, like Michael mentioned, but does not have to be a part of that facade grant program.
I just want to be clear on the timing. I need to have like from the approval, like there's a stamp on the approval, that date, that's the 3-month clock.
Right.
I got to complete the project.
Right.
Okay.
You think you have
3 months to
3
start.
months to start though, right?
3 months.
Okay, you have 3 months to start.
So you have 3 months to start, and then once you start, you have 3 months to finish.
Except being a total of 6 months.
So basically I can, the approval stamp goes on the application. And then I have 30 days, 29 days. On the 29th day, I start my project. Then I have 30 days.
Right, but you can start sooner.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's the time frame that you have.
And the reason why we had to look at that is we got the community foundation grant in February. We got the TDA grant in March, and we have a year to use those funds. So we wanted to make sure we had a buffer. If there are extenuating circumstances with a contractor that you're working with, you could definitely give us some correspondence and say, I need a little extra time because of this. And the design committee will look at that.
They will look at it, but you cannot guarantee an
You
extension.
can't guarantee it because those funds have to be, the terms of our grant, where they have to be expended within a year. So if we're getting a little bit of notice, we know we built in a buffer by doing a 6-month window, because we're looking at April right now, we're at April. And the first 10,000 has to be done by February of next year. So we're hoping that as this program gains traction, continues, that we won't have these kind of restrictions on the grant monies. For someone to take a chance on us with this program. It used to be that the state, that Commerce actually had this program in place. You didn't have to worry about those things, but they haven't had it in years. So we had to get creative to try to find grant funds that would work with us based on faith.
And just to be clear, the baseline, the mailing that was sent out was for a 3K match. Is that correct? And so what Mountain BizWorks came to the table today was for additional loans
Right.
on top of that. Okay. And so of the facade projects that are available under the grant, what facade project could conceivably be completed with $6,000?
I don't know. I mean, it depends if you're just gonna do painting, if you're gonna redo your awning, if you're going to redo your lighting. It really depends on what parts of it. Everybody's building is different. Everybody has different needs. And they're gonna be looking at different things. Jay wants to paint his full building. His bid came in much higher than that. So it really, that's why we brought Michael and Mountain BizWorks to the table, because we know there's gonna be some projects that are gonna be more costly. Starting out of the gate, we felt like 3,000 was a good way. If we maxed out, we'd have 10 grants. And that'd be a great start for us.
It's beautification. I understand painting is also kind of beautification, but would flowers or plants in the front of your building qualify? I know that's not from the building, but it enhances the appeal from Main Street. Would that be something that would qualify? potentially?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think how it's done, if it becomes like a permanent part of your facade, in essence, even if it's detached.
Okay.
And those are something that we'll have to discuss with the design committee, because they're way smarter at that stuff than I am.
And the application that has been produced, it obviously can't take into consideration every little possible
Right.
thing that might be applied for. So that's the design
Yeah.
committee will have to interpret some of these things.
Right. So if you have ideas you want to put on that letter of interest, put them on there. No holds barred. I mean, what you sent in is great, because that'll be our first discussion. So that we'll know we'll be ready for it. It's not gonna be, oh, we got your application, you're done, or you're approved. There's gonna be, like we were talking about with the historic tax credits, there's gonna be dialogue, and like, these things can be covered, but these things can't. Let's say they don't, somebody wants to hit that 3,000 match mark, but some of the things don't qualify, then we might be able to coach you and give you some suggestions to make it a little more robust on some other things. So then you have that money to do that extra thing that you want to do that didn't qualify.
And much like the state, I mean, our whole purpose is to help facilitate good things for downtown. So we're not looking for ways to turn people down.
No, not at all. Any other questions? Well, we really appreciate you guys taking the time out to come and learn and hear about these things and meet these folks. Please stop by the table. There's things from the Small Business Center, from Mount Visor, from Lending, Historic Preservation, all this information, so you can take that. And again, my name's Bernadette. Call Town Hall anytime you need any help. That's what my job is, to help you and hold your hand through some of this process and help you be successful. So thank you again.
Nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you. I was just coming up, bringing the first. I'm not gonna be on me, but I'll. Great. There we go. Well, have a great day.
Tail bar. Project. But I mean, it's still okay. 6,000.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's